Slave market of Kethera Prime smelled of unwashed bodies, exotic spices, and desperation. Daniel Corsair held his daughters close as they walked through the crowded marketplace, their small hands clutching his jacket. 7-year-old Emma pressed against his left side, while 9-year-old Sophie clung to his right. Both girls had their mother's eyes that hadn't seen her face in 3 years. Daniel had traveled halfway across the galaxy for this moment. After his wife's death, he'd buried himself in work, leaving the girls with nannies and tutors. But last month, when Emma had called her teacher mom by accident, something inside him shattered. He realized his daughters needed a mother figure, someone who could give them what he couldn't. The Galactic Council had opened certain slave markets to humanitarian purchases. Humans with sufficient credits could buy enslaved aliens and offer them citizenship and freedom in exchange for service. It was controversial, but legal. Daniel had sold everything, his house, his shuttlecraft, his late wife's jewelry, to gather enough credits for this day. Remember, he told his daughters as they approached the auction platform, we're here to help someone. We'll give her a home, a family, and freedom. But you must be respectful. The auctioneer, a corpulent Thraxian with 6 eyes, gestured toward the collection of caged beings. For you, human, I have the finest selections. Cooking, cleaning, childcare. You name your need, I have your solution. Daniel's stomach churned. These weren't solutions. These were people. Show me those qualified for domestic work, he said quietly. Those who speak standard galactic. The Thraxian clapped his hands, and a dozen beings were brought forward. Daniel studied them, looking for something. He wasn't sure what. Someone kind, someone patient, someone his daughters could trust. A tall Zentari woman with crystalline skin caught his eye first. She stood proud despite her chains, her expression dignified. But when Emma moved closer, the woman recoiled, her face contorting with disgust. The Zentari had particular views about humans, views that didn't include touching their children. Next came a Thalian male with gentle eyes, but Sophie shook her head immediately. He's scared, she whispered. More scared than us. She was right. The being trembled, his translator collar buzzing with barely suppressed panic. Then there was a Carusian female, beautiful and graceful, who smiled at the children. Daniel felt hopeful until she spoke. I have 7 younglings of my own, sold to different masters. I don't know if I could bear to raise others while mine suffer. Daniel's heart broke for her. He doubled his offered price on the spot and purchased her freedom anyway, arranging transport back to her home system. It depleted 1/4 of his remaining credits, but he couldn't walk away from her story. The Thraxian, sensing an easy mark, brought forward more beings, each with their own tragic tales. Daniel freed 3 more, his credit balance dropping dangerously low. Soon he'd have nothing left. Daddy, Emma tugged his sleeve. You're helping them. That's good. But we came here for us too, sweetheart, Daniel said, running a hand through his hair. And I'm running out of credits. Then maybe we don't need perfect, Sophie said wisely. Maybe we just need someone who needs us too. The Thraxian, growing impatient with Daniel's humanitarian spending spree, waved his hand dismissively. I have one more. But I warn you, human, she's difficult, violent, uncooperative. I only keep her because she's strong for heavy labor. He gestured to a cage in the shadows. A figure sat there, chained not just at the wrists and ankles, but around the neck and waist as well. As she was dragged into the light, Daniel saw why. She was Thraxian, a species known for their warrior culture and legendary combat skills. Her skin was a deep emerald green, marked with scars from countless battles. Her hair, long and wild, fell past her shoulders in tangled auburn waves. But it was her eyes that struck Daniel most, golden and fierce, burning with an unbroken spirit despite her captivity. She's killed 3 handlers, the Thraxian said casually. Refuses to work. Refuses to submit. Honestly, I'm considering the gladiator pits for her. At least there she'd be profitable. The Thraxian woman's jaw clenched, chains rattling as she shifted. Her eyes met Daniel's, and he saw something there. Not aggression aimed at him, but a desperate, caged fury at her circumstances. How did she end up here? Daniel asked. Her planet was conquered. She was a soldier, captured in battle. She's been through 6 markets, and no one can break her. She's worthless except as a curiosity. Daniel should have walked away. Every logical part of his brain screamed that bringing a violent, uncooperative warrior into his home with 2 small children was insanity. But then Sophie and Emma pulled free from his grip. Before he could stop them, they walked right up to the kneeling Thraxian. The guards tensed, hands on their shock batons. The warrior woman stared at the children, her fierce expression faltering. Sophie, brave as always, reached out and gently touched one of the green hands bound in heavy chains. You're very pretty, Emma said softly. Why are you so sad? For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the Thraxian woman's eyes filled with tears, the first sign of vulnerability she'd shown since her capture. She opened her mouth, her voice rough from disuse, speaking through the translator collar. I had daughters once, before the war. They would be about your age now. I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're alive. Emma and Sophie turned to their father simultaneously, their faces illuminated with that peculiar certainty only children possess. Daddy, they said in unison, pointing directly at the chained warrior, that one. Daniel froze. This was madness. This woman could snap him in half. She'd killed trained handlers. She was a warrior from a brutal culture, completely unsuited for domestic life. But she was also a mother who'd lost her children. And he was a father who'd nearly lost sight of his. How much? Daniel asked quietly. The Thraxian's eyes widened. You cannot be serious, human. She's dangerous. How much? A price was named, ridiculously low for a Thraxian, reflecting her perceived worthlessness. Daniel paid it with his remaining credits, leaving himself just enough for transport home and a month's worth of food. As the chains were transferred to his ownership, Daniel knelt before the Thraxian woman. I'm going to remove these. All of them. You'll be free. I only ask one thing. Help me raise these girls. Not as a slave. As family. The warrior woman stared at him like he'd spoken nonsense. You trust me? With your children? No, Sophie interjected, taking the Thraxian's hand again. You're going to be our mom, and we're going to help you find your daughters. That's what families do. The Thraxian woman, warrior and mother, survivor of conquest and slave markets, began to cry in earnest. As Daniel removed her chains, one by one, she placed her hands on the heads of his daughters and spoke an oath in her native language. The translator collar rendered it simply, I will protect them with my life. I will love them as my own, and I will teach them to be strong. Daniel helped her to her feet. She stood tall, towering over him by nearly a foot, her warrior's posture returning. But when Emma and Sophie each took one of her hands, she softened, her expression transforming into something tender and fierce all at once. As they walked out of that terrible place together, an unlikely family bound not by blood but by choice, Daniel realized something profound. He'd come here looking for help, for someone to fill a role in his household. Instead, he'd found something far more precious, a mother who'd lost everything and would fight the galaxy itself to protect what she'd found. Behind them, the slave markets of Kethera Prime continued their grim trade. But one warrior woman walked free, hand in hand with 2 little girls who'd seen past her scars and chains to the mother beneath. And for the first time in 3 years, Daniel Corsair believed his family might actually be whole again.